Hello Aries, welcome to your monthly forecast. This is for the month of March, and as always, I like to really give you a nice overview of everything coming through. We'll be taking a look at channeled information, we'll look at your overview, pulling a full Celtic Cross, then I'll look at an expanded forecast to look at health, wealth, love, and destiny. Before I get started, I'd like to remind you that you can use this for your sun, your rising, and your moon sign. And if you like what you see, feel free to share this with somebody, especially if they've never looked at this channel before. I really do appreciate that. That word of mouth goes a long way. I'll put my social media links here at the bottom, as well as a way to book a session or to give back if that's something that you feel like doing. All right, let's take a look now at your channeled information. Each and every month, I like to start by taking the deck of cards that I'm using for your sign and meditating. When I do that, I get an empathic download, something that I'll feel in my body. A lot of times I'll see imagery or I will channel a word through automatic writing. What came through first for you was the word fearless, followed by an image of breaking through what felt like sort of like a cage or a barrier. And when I kind of looked up fearless and I thought, what is this really about? Fear is usually when you're attaching to like worst possible outcome. I think it's good for all of us to have a little bit of skepticism as far as what's going on. It prepares us for, basically being able to handle anything that comes our way. But when we feed too much energy into the negative or to the critical, then we start to sort of suffocate possibility. And what I want you to do this month is to try to allow for things to grow, to manifest, and to reveal themselves to you before you jump to that conclusion that it won't happen, it can't happen, you're not good enough, whatever the sort of fear element is that might be holding you back. Suspend the fear if you can, or suspend that disbelief in yourself, and instead think, what if? So if you could flip it around. Instead of saying, what if I fail? What if I succeed? What if I accomplish all of these goals and create something that I really want to do? What if this love is something that is worth fighting for? So all of the things that you're thinking in the critical or negative, I want you to just sort of flip it around and make sure that you're not doing that solely because you are afraid of an outcome. Instead, look at possibilities and sort of feel your way through a situation instead of always listening to the noise around you or going through sort of a pattern in the past where you might avoid something for fear of failure. Okay, so opening up, living without fear, looking at possibilities, allowing for things to grow, to manifest, and to reveal themselves, that's your channeled message. It's a big one, but I think that there's a lot there that each of you can unpackage this month and take your time looking at it. And again, I think what I got also, it wasn't necessarily that I felt an empathic download this much as I was seeing that it was important for you to feel through the decisions, not sort of just think through the practicality of it, if that makes sense. Okay, let's go ahead now and we'll pull a full Celtic Cross to look at all of the information coming through, and we'll also look at the catalyst for you. And at this point in the reading, I always like to remain quiet so that I can observe what cards come through and where they are placed. And let's see, we'll use this deck here for Catalyst. Catalyst is a connecting thread. Sometimes you'll see that I'll use a pyramid spread and this goes at the top. I do that because it connects all of the cards underneath, but we'll be using Celtic Cross here this month and we'll use this in its normal position, which is right here. So we'll start off with the Catalyst. You have the Voyage card. And this card is very interesting because in a traditional sort of tarot deck, this could be associated with like the Six of Swords, also possibly the World. And what I see with this is a chance for you to step away from a situation, step away to get a better perspective, and also because you may be stuck in a cycle that really isn't allowing for the movement that you need. So look at your work routine and also look at your office, your living situation at home. What can you do there to maybe shift things around? Because the way that things are positioned around you absolutely affect the energy flow and also your ability to sort of absorb and think about things. So first, on just a very practical level, look at that. Have some movement in your life. Move physically. Make sure that you're getting enough exercise. Take a vacation. Take a break. Sometimes we need that recharging time just so that we can come back feeling refreshed. And for the rest of you, there may be a need to push yourself into a place where you're kind of faking it till you make it, if you will, or finding that inner strength even though you start off thinking, I'm not sure, I don't know. Kind of reach deep inside and think, I'm going to go for this. And so when I see the voyage, I see someone reaching in a place where they never would go and succeeding, but you have to overcome that fear of trying, of putting yourself into that place, into that new zone. And then we're going to look at each card and see how that ties back to the catalyst. But already I see this as a month of transformation for you. And I would say movement and transformation based on both the channeled information and that catalyst card. In the center of the spread, we have the Queen of Wands. I love this card when I'm reading for anyone that owns their own business, works as a project manager, is somehow overseeing a product, a service, or a group of people. This really is the quintessential card, I would say, when it comes to all of those things. And it also speaks to the strength in your own thinking process this month. So one thing that comes through here, especially when we looked at that word fearless, is don't second guess yourself. If you're feeling good about something, if you have an idea, if you want to try something, that card is really encouraging you to embrace that and to not be in a place where you think that your thoughts, your vision isn't enough or can't come through. In fact, right on top of that, we have the Sun card. It's interesting, as the sun just came out outside this card, we're going to be talking about it right now, which I see as not just simply illumination, but also your own persona, your own chemistry, your own charisma. And this is something that is really, really powerful for you this month, is a combination of not only having a great idea and having the ability to make things happen, but believing in yourself and realizing that it's the combination of these two things that make for a really powerful leader. I would say because that card is upright this month, you have equal strength and opportunity when it comes to managing your stuff and other people's lives and situations and projects. So really spend as much energy as you can into things like research, development, ideation, and anything where you can take something from concept to execution because it's really, really powerful for you this month. Now, if you're not a private business owner and you're wondering, how does this relate to like a mother, or how does it relate to someone who's retired, or if I'm a student? For those of you that are parents, what I see here is a lot of energy going between parent and child. And it doesn't matter what age your children are. Usually the sun for me indicates a baby. So just know that you may have a lot of energy from your children coming through this month, and you might need to be more present than usual. If you are in a retirement sort of age, this is also about finding the connection with youth. And it could be in doing activities that you liked when you were younger, or it could be about mentoring someone that is just starting off in their life. And as a student, this could be seeking out a mentee. So I see this sort of age gap coming between you and someone important in your life. Even if you're not a mother, or if you're not, if your parents aren't living and you're wondering sort of, how does this connect to me? This is about finding that mentorship opportunity, either being there for someone else or allowing them to show up for you. And it could just be a friend coming through and saying, I'm here for you. Interesting about all of the light and the movement in this, I think it's a powerful message for you this month. And especially as I'm kind of paying attention to the subtle things going on around me, make sure that you're not giving too much and you're not feeling depleted. That's the one thing that I got as the guides turn my electricity on and off. So pay attention, make sure that you're spending enough time to recharge, especially since this particular sun card is all about meditation and allowing for the universe to kind of provide for you and to be in a place of receiving. Now, as we're looking into the deep past here, we have the Eight of Cups card. This has to do with a chance for you to resolve old relationship issues. It doesn't always mean that somebody's going to come back from the past, but what it can mean for many of you is a trigger, a pattern from a relationship that on some level you don't have a sense of it being resolved or being healed. So I want you to kind of tune in this month and see if there's any triggers that are coming up, something that reminds you of someone or a situation that you've been through before. And the magic of this month for you, the magic of March for you, is you get to do it differently. You get to kind of rewrite your story this month. And even if on some levels you can't fix what happened in the past, you can adjust the pattern, which allows you to heal internally and ultimately to heal what's left of that relationship. You're not always going to be doomed to repeat the pattern. And so this month is about looking back, learning, and applying the knowledge this month so that a similar thing doesn't happen, or that you're able to do something more effectively, because that's kind of why we keep going through all of these lifetimes. And in this life, we keep going through the same situations. We repeat until we learn, and then we move on. So look at habits, look at cycles, look at decisions that you're making this month, and reflect and think, how did I do this before? How did that work? Should I do it differently? And remembering that for some of you, fear may be one of the things that you're going to break through. And instead of being afraid of trying something new, you'll have a whole new way of dealing with it. And as we're looking at what's really presenting itself here in the most recent past, and probably some of you still need to focus on at the beginning of this month as well, is where are you at with wrapping things up? For me, the 10 of Wands is a card that comes through when you're nearly complete with something, but there's final touches that need to happen. So I'm going to sum this up by saying don't let go of any sort of follow through that you need to do this month. If you promise to do something, do it. If you feel like I should really reach out to this person and check on this, or this, then absolutely do that this month. And for the rest of you, this is showing that right around the corner, I'm looking at a chance for you to move to a different job, move to a different house, or move in your way of being, thinking, existing, because these are two very transformative cards. The Voyage card, even though it's reversed, is showing change that's beneath the surface, hasn't quite allowed itself to come through, and this is showing another side of that, which is you're almost to that point that you want to be. Don't give up. This is really about fighting for what you want this month. The 9 of Wands is actually, that happens when you've already done it. The 10 of Wands is just the follow through. So even if you're feeling a little exhausted, just take a day off like I mentioned earlier. Or if you're feeling unsure of can I do it, this card is saying yes, you can. And as we look at what your crowning card is, which would kind of be your navigation for the month, how you're pointing the ship, so to speak, we have the 7 of Wands. And there's a reminder whenever I see the 7 to not overdo things. The 7 of Wands is somebody who can manage anything that comes their way. In fact, if there was a fault for what's going on this month, it could be that you're afraid to ask for help. We've all been there. That's something I even struggle with from time to time. So if you feel like you've got it under control, but maybe you wish you could get a little assistance or something, reach out, get the help, get a second set of eyes or get a second set of hands helping you through something, because what I see here is experience, guidance, that mentorship opportunity that we're looking at. And by not bringing that in, you could be cheating yourself and cheating whatever it is that you're working on or trying to create from this sort of enrichment opportunity. So power in numbers. You don't have to do it all yourself. Also, if somebody comes to you and just checks up and says, is everything okay? Don't get defensive. Don't take anything personally. Just assume the best until proven otherwise with people. So this is a card that reminds you to let your guards down a little bit, to only pick and choose the battles that are really worth your time and energy, and more importantly, to delegate or ask for help. Lean on people, especially if they offer that help. As we're looking at near future, which is also we're not quite in the fear area. This is more sort of like what you can do, and on some levels, what could either help you get there or hold you back. We have the 7 of Swords. The card is reversed, which is telling you, be as transparent as possible. Don't sneak around. Don't do anything covertly. In fact, if there are people around you that you don't trust or you see sort of acting in a lower frequency point of communication or being, this is a time for you to shift away from that. I'll go one step further with this, which is to assume that everything that you're saying is going to get back to the source. And in fact, it could come through in a way that lost the original context. So only say things that you want to get out there, and it's a good way to live your life in general. Do things transparently, say things transparently, and assume that the communication can and will be shared with everybody. What you really want to be focusing on as I look at the ego of your sign and what really seems to be in your heart space as well this month is the Ace of Wands, which is demonstrate, like kind of walk the walk is what I'm seeing with this. So instead of articulating things until you kind of go blue in the face, what would be better this month is to lead by example. And of course, your central card was leadership, to be inspired and also to inspire others through actions, ideas, and the movement in your life. And that's really what the Voyage card was about, is if you're going to go on this sort of spiritual journey or journey of learning, knowledge, whatever it is, be inspired every step of the way and allow that to be an inspiration for others. Your vitality is in a really good place this month. Whenever I see the Ace of Wands, it's showing a spike in energy. And if for some reason you're feeling a little bit down at the beginning of the month, engage in physical activity. Know that that's going to not only spark your ability to feel rested and to feel like there's more energy, but your thoughts are also going to be sparked by that change in activity. And I think that's also what that Voyage card was talking about. I feel good about abundance when I'm looking at your resources this month. In the environment, we have the Nine of Pentacles. This is a card of more than enough, much more than enough, actually. In fact, usually when I see this coming through, it indicates that you're going to be in a place of being sustained, having more independence this month, or having a lot of resources at your disposal. So even if that's not in your bank account, this could be resources in the way of people around you that want to help. Time could be on your side. Or, as I was saying, your vitality, if you really work on feeling good and trying to do the most with the energy and the time that you have, then your productivity could be higher. So it doesn't always come in coins itself, which is why I usually like to say pentacles, because that's all about the sort of abstract concepts of time, energy, and resources. Maximize them this month. I feel like you can really use whatever resource you see coming through to your benefit. So time, energy, or money, use it. And in doing so, you may be surprised at what's possible. When I look here at hopes, fears, and possibilities, we have the Eight of Wands. Sure, the card is in a reverse state, but this is one of those cards that almost invariably indicates good things on the horizon. For me, Eight of Wands is sustainability when it comes to money and business. It shows a very busy schedule. And as we look at this card, which has like a carrier pigeon or some sort of messenger, what I think you really want to pay attention to is to make sure that there's nothing missed in communication. You could be so busy this month that you miss an email, a text, or a phone call. And back to that sort of follow through that I was talking about at the beginning, it's really important to pay attention to those little details and to remember too that if you are just good about being kind of like kind with communication, it's going to go a long way. So if you're trying to get a new job, that follow-up email saying, thank you so much for your time and consideration. Let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, I really just appreciate the chance to speak with you. Not everyone does that anymore. So the fact that you're doing that's going to be appreciated. Also, if you've just met with someone and you had a key conversation, could be a friend too, you could just check in with them a couple weeks later and say, wow, it was so great catching up. How did this go? Show them that you listen. Show them that you care. Check in because you just love them and you want things to go well. Those follow-up communications are the difference between success and failure for you this month. So don't let them go. Don't underestimate a little check-in. It could be a text, it could be a call, it could be an email, it could be a postcard. That's going to completely change someone else's day, and it could also change yours because that puts you in a different stratosphere for them. And again, when it comes to future things, especially with work, they may put you ahead of others because they realize you care, you have a little bit more heart, you're leading with more than just sort of like greed or power or fear, as we talked about earlier. So use your heart, follow through, don't get so busy that you let things go through the cracks. And I think that's why it's important to take some rest, meditate, take a day off, etc. As we look at your outcome card, the main message here is to be comfortable with a little bit of ambiguity. For me, Eight of Swords is about transparency, about asking the big questions, not being afraid to sort of raise your hand or raise your voice. So if there's something going on that you don't like, don't understand, don't know about, dig in, ask those questions, get them out on the table before things sort of go too far. The other piece of this, though, is just to sort of remind you that no matter how much preparation and research you do, no matter how many cards you pull, free will and environmental elements are always going to play a part in this. So you get prepared and you act on the intuition of the moment. We have these readings each month to kind of help you get into a place where you can decide what's best for you. Your free will is going to change your future. Other people can do the same. So don't be afraid of the unknown, because it's always changing. The future is not set. It's a path that we can embrace, that we can adjust, that we can help manifest. And so when you realize, kind of like Neo in the Matrix, that you can change things, you can actually manipulate the future a bit, then you're not so afraid. You'll sail through it. There are some things that you're going to be surprised with, but you'll also be surprised pleasantly when you're able to shift things around as well. So embrace your power and find your inner Neo. I think that's something that we all need to do from the Matrix, and know that once you see through that facade that you are somehow not empowered, then you find your power, and then this month becomes a lot easier. All right, let's expand your forecast. We always start with health, so let's turn the camera down, give this a good shuffle, and see what's coming through for mind, body, and spirit, and see what that equates to with health this month. So we have navigating by the stars. When I am looking in a sort of health reading and get this card, two things. I want you to listen to your body, and if you feel like something isn't right, go in sooner. Don't wait for something to sort of manifest. I've had instances pop up in my life where the doctor actually looked at me and said, "How did you know that this was wrong?" I said, "I just knew." And this was long before I understood what intuition was. I could feel something inside, something was off. I went in and the doctor said, it's almost impossible that you would know that this was going on. And that was when I started to realize, well, I guess I just know my body. The message here is you know your body. So if something feels wrong, talk to someone, whether it's something with your teeth, something with an internal organ, an ache and a pain, or a bone, or whatever it is that's feeling off. Go to the proper specialist, get it checked out. It's worth it. The other thing here, and it's a beautiful message, is follow your bliss. So allow bliss to be sort of your compass when it comes to choices in your life. And this is going to make you feel better, because it's not just about your body, it's about your spirit. And so that's the spirit component of this, which is if you're not feeling it, if you're not feeling the love in a relationship, in a job, in a learning experience, if you're in school, or some sort of volunteer work that you're doing, then allow your bliss to take you somewhere else. Where are you feeling connected? What is your compass telling you to move towards? Be in that state, and your body tends to be in a state of bliss as well. It's when we're frustrated, when we're angry, when we feel stuck, when we don't feel supported, that we start to hold energy in parts of our body and it starts to shut down, okay? Let's go ahead now and take a look at wealth. Your message for wealth this month is, we have leadership. And let me go ahead and pull the camera up and read the card here. It says, it's time for you to assume your leadership power and position lovingly and guide others. And so this is really interesting because your center card was the Queen of Wands. And what we talked about at the beginning was the ability to manage your life and manage others. So just know that that's coming through for you. The card was reversed. So some of you may be either resistant to the leadership that you're being sort of challenged to give to others, or you may be resisting someone else's leadership because you know in your heart that it's either not the right thing to do or you feel compelled to do something different. Remember I said this month, it's important to speak up if there are questions or concerns or things that you really want to change. Pick and choose those battles wisely though. And for some of you, this may be a decision that it's time to walk away. Whenever I see the 10 of Wands and the 7 of Swords in the same spread, I'm seeing someone who is ready for a shift in their life. So it may not happen this month, but many of you may be looking at how to change your career, how to redefine it, how to do something different, how to move, transfer within the division, or find a new job altogether. For those of you that are retired, it's about finding new life purpose. What is it that really brings you happiness? Maybe you're going to shift how you're spending your time. I talked about resources being abundant for some of you. That's especially true for those of you that might be retired or just have a lot of free time this month. You have a chance to shift things around and spend it differently. And you should only be doing things where you trust the leaders and involved in those projects or those activities. And if you're not behind the leadership, this is a time to step away from those things or to make a difference, and maybe you become a leader or a changer or a mover in the world as well. So whatever that leadership is, it feels like you need to feel good about it in your work area or in your opportunity space. So use that as you will to guide you this month. We just looked at health and wealth. Let's take a look at love and relationships now. and see what messages are coming through. Your message this month is all around guilt. It says, I release any beliefs that no longer assist in my soul's growth. And the interesting thing with guilt is you could be looking at a past pattern or a relationship, and this could be your chance to decide to come clean in that area and tell the person what it is that you need to. Also remember sometimes that you need to be doing that for the best reasons and make sure that you're not kind of opening an old wound with them. What you could otherwise do with yourself is, if you're feeling guilty, then affect a change in your life. It could be deciding to get help that you need. It could be deciding to help others because in the past you weren't helped or you weren't there for someone when they needed help. So guilt is a complicated emotion, and it doesn't necessarily mean that there's only one way to work past it. The important thing though is to think, where can I start to release this? Because it isn't a healthy thing to exist within in the space of too long. So let go of the guilt, find a way to feel better, find a way to release or repair or forgive. Some of you, it might simply be forgiving yourself for not doing something because you may not have been able to make that change anyway. Sometimes we're too hard on ourselves, and this card is coming through to remind you that the fact that you're even worried about it shows that you're a good person and that you're trying to work through it. So give yourself some credit, find a way to release it in the way that feels best to you and that you're honoring the energy, and then move forward. And great segue to look at the final card that I look at in each month, and that is your Destiny card. Destiny is not written, not in this spread. This is something that you're constantly writing and you're constantly shifting. It's a GPS. So if you like the direction in which you're headed, stay on course. If not, this is a chance for you to adjust. All right, we have the Fire Prince here, and it says optimism and aggression. And what this is really encouraging you to do is to find a balance between being able to push something through and being able to see the positive, which we talked about earlier, and also between being too in people's faces, and that would be the aggression portion of this. The card is reversed, so it's also saying sort of mute your fire this month. When you're speaking, make sure that your words are not pointed. When you're asking questions, make sure that you're doing so from a place that's constructively critical if necessary. Always find a way to put your best foot forward and also assume the best of others. Let's go ahead now and review everything that we talked about and try to bring it into a nice clean focus for you. I talked about the channeled information this month, which was to do your best to release fear, to be as fearless as possible, and to sort of look at triggers in your life. For each of us, it's going to be different, but the important thing is to shine the light on the fear rather than to run away from it, which is a way of just feeding that sort of low frequency energy. Also, your catalyst was that of a movement, not moving away from something that needs to change, but again, embracing that change, giving yourself some space as well, because I think many of you need a little bit of perspective in order to make better decisions this month. As we look at the overall spread, at the center we have the Queen of Wands, speaking to your ability to manage well and also to inspire others. We looked later and there was also sort of a mentorship piece of information that came through. So if it feels like it's a month where you want to either give more help or receive more help, know that both of those energies are there for you. This is a month to break cycles, to forgive yourself, to overcome guilt. And I really think for many of you, that's what the Eight of Cups symbolized. We see movement happening for many of you, and it's inevitable. So I think that some of you might be deciding to walk away from a job, walk away from a sort of toxic experience, and to decide, what am I really here? What am I fighting for? What's worth this energy? And all of this is going to come into focus by the end of the month for you. The good news is in your ego, you have a wonderful card showing vitality, an ability to come up with new ideas, to launch a product, to get people excited in whatever it is you're trying to offer the world. So I feel like the world's your oyster this month, as long as you don't kind of get stuck in miscommunication, missing some sort of a big opportunity. Focus on what's important this month, and I think that's going to be key. The big thing that I see many of you having, which is wonderfully unexpected, and I think you should try to embrace, is some sort of a resource abundance. We talked earlier that this isn't just money. It could be time. It could be just the ability for a lot of people to be there to support you. Whatever that resource is, tap into that and know that that's going to bring you the ability to have a lot of abundance in the future, which is also exciting. The only thing that can hold you back this month is the outcome card, which is speaking to being comfortable with ambiguity. I mentioned earlier the understanding that a lot of what we're experiencing is sort of like an illusion. I was talking to a friend recently about the Matrix, and I talked to you guys about that as well, which is that we have more power than we think. And once we realize that manifestation is at our fingertips, then we're not so afraid of the unknown. And I think for you, looking at things as a blank canvas rather than sort of a dark abyss would be very helpful. You can create whatever you want. It's not there to scare you, to make things difficult. The universe is really there to support you, okay? Let's quickly review your expanded forecast again. Trust your intuition when it comes to your body, and also follow your heart when it comes to things that make you happy. This should be what you're engaging more in your work, in your friendships, everything. Be in a state of bliss, your body will follow. But again, from a medical standpoint, if there's something that you feel like you need to get checked out, absolutely do it. Don't shy away from the leadership opportunities presenting themselves this month. You're well experienced and set up for success there. On the flip side of this, if there's someone in a leadership position around you and you're not behind them, this is a month to either speak up or to move on because it doesn't feel like that's something that you want to be behind, and I agree with that. Find a way to release guilt. Guilt doesn't allow you to move forward. It's there because you have something that's unresolved, something that you need to heal, and that's what the Eight of Cups is about for you. And finally, focusing on the positive, not going to a place where you're negative or aggressive, trying to stay in that place where we talked earlier about possibilities. Fear can make us feel anxious, can sometimes make us a little bit less effective communicators than we need to be. And I think by releasing the fear this month, you amplify all of the positive aspects of this reading, which was abundant resources, great leadership, good vitality, and a chance to move forward if you want to. So I love all of that. And I think overwhelmingly it's pretty good if you move past that shadow stuff, which was fear and ambiguity. And again, when you're communicating this month, I want you to understand that things can and will get back to the source. So make sure that you're okay with that, okay? So if you ever want to talk a little bit more about something going on in your life, feel free to reach out. I hope that this gave you what you needed, but I'm also there for one-on-one readings. I'll put the information again below on how to reach out. It's also the first link below the video, and if you click in the corner, it'll be the first card in the video. The second card, the second link, is going to be information on how you can give back to the channel. Each and every month, I put a lot of TLC into these readings. As you know, I take them very seriously, and I try to give you something that would be equivalent to a reading with me. So if it's something that you appreciate and you want to support me, you can join me on Patreon or do a donation. Also, a way to do this on a very easy level is just to like, subscribe, and share. And I talked about that earlier. Word of mouth means a lot. And if you want to just post this on your social media feed, I'd be much appreciative of that. So I'll put all my information on how you can get in touch with me, and that's the third link as well. So first link is to connect on a booking site, second link is to donate, and the third is to connect across all the social platforms. Finally, and most importantly, the reason I show up each month is to help you move past blocks in your life, to shine brighter. And we're in a place right now in the world where there's a lot of uncertainty. So I think that when we can become clear on our own path and certain on what's important to us, then we can ease some of that tension on a global scale. So I'm trying to raise consciousness, help you shine brighter. And I talk about this a lot, but I think that as we start to shine brightly, you could think of us as lighthouses, or I'm going to kind of go towards a new thing here because I think we're like stars in a constellation, and I'm trying to build a really bright constellation of light across this planet, and that's part of my role here, and I'm happy to help with that. I hope it's helping you, and I really am grateful for being part of this journey. Wishing you love and light now and always. I'll see you again next month. Bye.